Hello everyone and welcome to the Anime Zillia, and today we'll be going over my top 5 fights that I want to see from Volume 7 of RWBY. Now, before I start this list, I do want to say there is going to be a spoiler if you haven't seen episode 1 of Volume 7 yet. So, that's your warning for that just now. I have bleeped out in the thumbnail as well, which will be changed after the episode becomes public for the general public, not just for first members. And I do want to clarify, this list was actually made before Volume 7 started. So I had this list already written up before anything was announced or before any characters came into view. So with that said and done with, let's crack on with this list. Now, as I'm going through this list, I want you guys to be thinking about what fights you like to see and why. And let me know down in the comment section once you've decided. So let's just jump into it. Number 5. At number 5 we have Crow versus Winter. Now, I want to see this fight because it would be a great rematch between these two characters. And I would say these characters for the most part are fairly even in terms of powers. Crow might just have the edge slightly, but we haven't seen a lot from Winter in terms of her feats and abilities. So we really can't tell at this point. Plus, I think that something is definitely 100% off with Winter at the moment. I don't think Winter is who we know her to be. Maybe Salem got to her or something, or maybe Tyrion has something and does something to her that forces Crow to have to fight her and bring her back to her senses. Because I think Tyrion uses poison, and if he stabs her with poison that makes her hallucinate, maybe we might get a fight that way. But honestly, I think these two going off against each other would be pretty interesting, and it would be a nice homage to what we saw back in, I think, Volume 3 or 2, where they first met. Anyway, that's going to be my number 5, and that's just a general reason as to why. Moving swiftly on to number 4. Now, like I said, this list was made before Volume 7, so I did not know this information beforehand, but now that I do, I have changed the image. But again, if you haven't clicked off yet and you didn't hear earlier, this is a spoiler. Number 4 is a spoiler. So let's just go straight into it. And if you don't want to see it, I suggest you go ahead in the video or just come back after you've watched the episode. Number 4 is Penny versus the Winged Grimm. At the end of Volume 6, we saw Salem create these weird monkey type flying Grimm things with wings and everything. And I think this would be amazing to see Penny flying through the skies of Atlas, shooting these things down. Lasers flying all over the place, and lots of crazy Grimm monkeys trying to break into Atlas. It'll be a big mess and a big scramble, but I think it'll be somewhat entertaining as well. Especially seeing Penny's feats and abilities and seeing what she can do with swords, lasers, maybe she could do even more with them. If they nail the animation of this fight scene, not only would it be an epic feat for Penny's character, but it could also be an amazing sight to behold. Because it's almost like a Star Wars kind of thing, you know? There's something in the sky that they want to take down. There's enemies coming their way, and you've got to shoot them out of the sky. Classic, easy, simple, but yet it could be very effective. The only real purpose that it would serve, though, because it wouldn't really help the plot go forward, but it would just give Penny a bit more of a shine and more of a way to show off her skills and new powers. I imagine that with her character coming back, she would have lots of upgrades, and the show will need something to kind of showcase that and present it. And this, I think, would be a good way to do it. She probably won't defeat all of them because there's probably thousands of them on the way, but she could probably take down quite a lot. So, just as a little bit of fun, Penny versus the Flying Monkey Grimm, or you can see the name up on screen, the Garbrindingle, whatever, I think would be entertaining. And it's possible in Atlas. Now, number 3 is where it starts to get a bit more kind of the reason as to why I think it could play out for the story. So, number 3, we have Tyrion versus Blake. With both Tyrion and Blake being Farnis, by their biological kind of things, that's what race they are, and with Atlas' views of the Farnis being somewhat unpleasant, this could greatly help the mindset and mend the rift between both Atlas and the Finest tribe. Can you imagine a situation in where flames are falling from the sky, Grimm are advancing, people are scared and trapped, and then a crazy Tyrion comes running in to add more destruction to the already chaotic scenes that we're already getting. And Team RWBY jump in, but more specifically Blake ends up taking down Tyrion, showing everybody in Atlas that not all Finest are bad. Because we've seen that there is a bit of hostility in the kind of, I don't want to say slums area, but we have seen that already, especially pointed towards Blake. So if those people kind of see her doing that and taking down this madman known as Tyrion, who is also a Finest, maybe some of them might kind of change their views and opinions on him. Now, this fight basically would not be brilliant in terms of 1v1 fighting, but it would be more of a statement to show that, you know, not everybody of a specific race that you put into a certain category is evil. People can change, and you need to learn that. And that would be the message that would be behind these two facing off. I think that would be a powerful one as well. And you know what? White Fang, Salem's goons, they're all going to be trouble, even if they're Finest or not. And obviously Atlas at the moment just think he's all the Finest. And this could change. So, because I'm repeating myself, I'm going to move on to number 2. Number 2, we have another very interesting one at Ozpin/Oscar versus Mercury versus Emerald. Admittedly, this is a very unlikely matchup, but just hear me out. These three characters, Oscar, Mercury, Emerald, they all need a push, to show what they're capable of and to kind of give their characters something more for fans to kind of get behind. Because since the fall of Beacon, they haven't really done anything. And we all want to see Oscar have a moment to shine. Since coming into the show, he hasn't really felt like his own character. He's always just felt like a puppet to Ozpin, basically. And we all know that Ozpin will one day take full control over Oscar. Now, this will play a very important part in the fight that I'm basically trying to get across I want to see. Now, what does this have to do with the other two? Well, both Mercury and Emerald are kind of feeling conflicted, as they could almost not really make up their mind as such to be with Salem or to be against Salem. They don't really know what's happening. Emerald's very scared of Salem, and when that happens, when you're scared of someone that you're working for, it never ends well. We saw this confrontation between the two kind of in Volume 6, and maybe that will escalate a bit more now. These two characters, Emerald and Mercury, at the moment to me they seem like lost lambs. And one thing that Ozpin has been known to be is a shepherd. Now, with these characters all meeting, I can see a situation in where Ozpin tries to take over and tries to guide these two lost lambs. Or maybe we see a bit of Ozpin's personality showing up in Oscar at this point, further showing us and growing the seed of doubt as to whether or not it's Ozpin or Oscar taking control of the actual entire body. But this could ultimately lead to the growth of the seed of doubt that both Mercury and Emerald have inside them at the moment, leading all of these characters into a confrontation. Right, now showing off, this fight would also show off some more of Oscar's new combat skills and get some more, we get some more action and kind of screen time from Mercury and Emerald. Maybe we could see some crazy illusions from Ozpin or Ozma's past, and basically showing us more of the story that has already been told to us about Ozma and Salem, as well as the fact is how the process of Osborn taking full control might come about. Because obviously, Emerald's ability to create illusions could automatically psych Oscar out and make him retreat. Or it could make Osborn retreat further, thus making Oscar less of a threat. Now, any of these could happen. This could be a possibility. But it could also be another way to kind of bring Mercury and Emerald up to date with the story of Ozma and Salem. Because if they're going to join Team RWBY and the others, then they need to know the whole story. They need to know who Salem is, how she became like she does, and this would be an interesting way to do it. As well as the fact is, I just want to see these characters back in action. And this is the only way I can really think of it happening. How Mercury and Emerald get to Atlas, I don't really know. But at the same time, Oscar needs something special to kind of get the fans behind him. Yes, we saw him take down one Grimm, and that's all he's done so far. But honestly, like I said, this could be another great way to reintroduce the idea of Osborn fully taking over Oscar's consciousness and body. Or mind and body, basically. As well as, who knows, maybe Oscar could unlock his semblance. Now, you may have got a bit kind of muddled up with there. Me saying Oscar and Ozpin, swapping back and forth. And I'm not going to lie, I got a bit carried away when I was thinking about this, which one was which. I still do sometimes. So, basically, I think it could be interesting, depending on which route they go down. So, we'll move on to number one. Number one, the most fight that I'll be interested into seeing, well, bad English. Number one, the fight that I would most like to see from RWBY Volume 7 is Salem versus Raven. Now, we all know that Raven is somewhat scared of Salem. As she, we saw her in Volume 5, I think it was. She was trying to run away from everything. Yes, she tried to take down Cinder, but ultimately she just tried to run away and get as far away from Salem, Cinder, her faction as quick as possible. And this would be a good idea to show us as well what Salem is capable of in terms of fighting abilities. Now, I don't expect Salem to be overly powered in terms of fighting style. I think she's more of a leader than a fighter. But at the same time, she would need to have some combat experience for her to be able to do the things that she wants to do. And this would be a great way to see that. This would also be a great way for us to see some development from Raven's character. As this would mean she'll have to overcome her fears of Salem. And for that, she'll need to have something she's willing to fight for, or someone to fight, to risk everything to fight for. Yang could possibly be that, since Raven is currently spending time with Ty, as we know from the end of Volume 5. So maybe she kind of has a change of heart halfway through, and we know that Raven does care about her daughter to some extent. Now, the main issue I have with this fight, it will be a final stand for whichever characters these are. Because, let's just say that this happens. And it's going to have to be at the end of a season. It wouldn't be partway through, that wouldn't make sense. So, if this were to say happen at the very end of Volume 7, honestly, if this was a fight, it would definitely go to Salem. Raven would not win at all. The best Raven could do is probably stall for time. And this would most likely end up with Raven dying by the end. Maybe turning into a Grimm herself, who knows. But that would be the big shock factor. And the only way I can see this fight unfolding is to a point where Salem herself would appear, and it would be a problem for Team RWBY to escape Atlas. And this would prompt Raven to interfere in the battle, and the battle would start. This is not only showing her overcoming her fears, but also showing that she has this affection and love for her daughter, which is Yang. Now, like I said, Salem would no doubtably win this match. Maybe Raven could expose another weakness or injure Salem permanently. But of course, at the end of the day, this would end up being a final stand for Raven's character, and ultimately only lead to the team escaping, just barely. But another way that they could do this, and if they spin the angle right, would be that it could be a bit of a driving factor for Yang's character going forward. We've got, because if you look at it, we've got, these aren't brilliant reasons, but you've got RWBY, who basically, she wants to take down all the Grimm and be a huntress just like her mother. That's her dream. You got Weiss, she wants to make it on her own, prove everyone wrong, that she doesn't need her father's influence to help her out. She wants to kind of live her life freely as possible. Blake, she wants to mend all the trouble that the Farners have gone through and make sure that their species has a bright future. And Yang, I don't really know what Yang has. And if this were to happen and Raven was to fall, then this would give Yang some more fuel to target Salem in the future. It would give her a driving force to move her forward. So, for these reasons, that's why I think Salem vs. Raven would be my number one pick for a fight that I would like to see from Volume 7 of RWBY. Now, you might have different ideas and different opinions on who you'd like to see fight each other. And then that's perfectly fine. Please let me know your thoughts all in the comment section down below. Other than that, like the video if you liked the video, dislike if you disliked. Subscribe if you're new so you never miss a video from me, and I'll catch you all next time. Goodbye for now.